Hey, this is Alex with the Unbiased Trailblazer podcast. If you haven't joined our Discord yet, you're missing out. Go to our Twitter at Unbiased Blazers. There's a link in our bio where you can join the Discord server from there. There's also links in every podcast description, so you can join from there as well. Now, let's get to the show. Rip City, baby.
When I play out a game and then talk, I'm trying, Jennifer.
What is going on, Rip City? This is episode, I don't even know, episode 53, I think? 52, 53? One of those two.
Yeah, one of those two.
It's been a couple weeks. That's why I can't remember. But I got Fawad here with me. Fawad, how are you doing today? This is early. We're doing an early podcast, so how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's definitely been quite some time since our last one. I think it's been 3 weeks, maybe even 4. But I'm happy to be back.
Ready to talk some basketball.
Yeah, it's been a little bit quiet, but we'll still, we still love talking about the Blazers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a couple things we can talk about. So let's go ahead and let's jump into a couple of those things. The first thing I wanted to talk about was we obviously have Nasir Little coming back from injury. We also have Josh Hart. They both play the same position. So my question was, who do we think fits better at the starting position? Minutes wise, who do we think is going to play more? Or just kind of how we feel that roster, that starting spot at the number 3 position is going to be. What's your opinion on that spot?
Well, first of all, you said Hart and Nas are the same position. I personally agree with that, but a lot of people, I think, including Joe Cronin, see Hart more of as a 2 who can play the 3, whereas I think he's a 3 who can play the 2. So, the answer to that question probably depends on what you see Hart as. But yeah, I see him as a 3, and I think he fits really well as a complementary player to Dame and to the rest of the team. So I would love to see him start at the 3. I think he's a better shooter than Nas. I think he plays a little bit bigger too. Like he can guard 4s if he needs to, and he's a really good rebounder for his size. That's why there's a lot of things I like about him. And then Nas, he might, if he improves enough, he might be a better creator, and that might be something we want more with our bench unit. I think if it was up to me, it would probably be Josh Hart starting, but I think it's going to be Nasir either way, because I think I remember Joe Cronin saying something a while back about how I don't know if he said specifically whether Nas is going to start, but I think he said Hart will be part of the second unit. I don't know. He said something that he implied that it would be Nas starting, but I doubt it's set in stone. If if Hart has a really good training camp, I wouldn't be surprised to see Chauncey put him as the starting 3 over Nas.
Yeah, and you actually said it perfectly. A lot of people do see him as a 2 instead of a 3. I'm in the same boat as you. I think he's a 3 that can play the 2. I think he can also, if we needed to, he could also play the 4. And I believe in New Orleans, he did play the 4 a little bit.
Did.
So he's kind of a little Swiss Army knife that we can kind of put all over the place.
Exactly.
No surprise here. We kind of agree on this. I agree. I think Hart would be the better choice to start, but I think no matter what, I think Nasir is going to be the one that's starting. I think, though, in my opinion, I think when it comes down to both of them, I think Josh Hart has to be the one that plays more minutes than Little does. I think
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think he affects the game more positively for us at this current time. And that could change as the season goes on if he develops more, and that could certainly change. But I think as of right now, I think Josh Hart brings a little bit more of what we need, and is more of an established player right now. And I think no matter what, I think at least Josh Hart has to play at least one more minute than Nasir Little does. But I mean, it's a good situation to be in. I mean, we have two players that I do think are valuable players to have, and they do specific things pretty well for themselves. So I think it's a good problem to have. I'm looking forward to it, but I do agree with you. I think Nasir is going to be starting. Josh Hart's going to be coming off the bench, and it's going to be interesting. I do think Josh Hart's going to pair very well with Lillard and Grant and Nurk. So I mean, we already kind of saw Nurk, Ant, and Hart. So I think it's going to be good. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good problem to have, and on paper they're pretty similar too. I think, they're both a little bit undersized for the three, like just height and like frame wise.
Yep.
They're both good defenders. They're both okay enough on offense. They're not liabilities, but they're also not like superstars. Um, and they're just good role players. I will say one thing in favor of Nas. We don't know how he will be. Maybe he takes like a huge jump this offseason.
Exactly.
And again, when it comes to training camp, maybe he's the one who outshines Hart, and he takes over that spot. So it's really hard to say, especially since we didn't get to see Hart. I mean, especially since we didn't get to see Nas after we shut down the rest of the team. He got hurt. So if we got to see him, have that bigger role, we might have had more information to go off. But yeah, he's a relatively big question mark, which is also why he probably won't be extended.
Yeah, that's something we didn't even talk about, but that is a big what if there. What's going to happen with his contract situation? One thing I did want to point out is I don't know who's all on TikTok, but I recently somehow, I don't know how I stumbled across it, but Josh Hart has been on some, like I said, I honestly don't know how this came up on my TikTok stuff, but he's been on this guy who trains dogs, and the guy's been training Josh Hart's dog. So I've been like watching these videos of Josh Hart with his dogs. He's pretty funny, and his dog's pretty crazy dog. But like we said, we're excited to see what Josh Hart can do with a full team, and what Nasir Little, hopefully healthy Nasir Little can do, because we haven't really seen that yet, and we want to, and we think he's got a pretty good floor for us, and I think he can be a good player for us, at least a role player at the least. I think he can. Any team would love to have what he could do if he can stay healthy.
Yep, for sure.
So one thing I wanted to speak on real quick. Fawad wasn't too big of a fan of it, but I just had a lot of feelings on it, and I just got to get it off my chest, or it's just gonna sit and stew inside me. J.R. Smith. We're not gonna talk very much about this, but I just have to say this. This guy, known for, I don't even know how many teams he's been on. He's been on multiple teams. And like, for some reason, he feels the need that his word is, the gospel or something. For him to say that Lillard is going to rot in Portland blows my mind. The fact, if Lillard never wins a championship in Portland and stays here, Lillard will be a Hall of Famer, and J.R. Smith, who has won championships, will not be. So I think sometimes I feel like J.R. Smith gets a little jealous that he doesn't get as much recognition as he thinks he should get. Like, he said multiple things that I just think are crazy. And then this one hits home because it's more personal. It's with Portland, and it's with Lillard. And it's just like, because J.R. Smith couldn't do what Lillard's doing, he sees it as an issue, and Lillard needs to go team hop and ride someone else's team. And I can't stand J.R. Smith. He was a fun player to watch play. He had some explosive plays and some crazy shots that went in, but that is one of the last people I would ever take advice from on legacy and what's going to happen to a player. I don't know if you have anything you want to add. I'm not a big fan of J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. I didn't even really want to talk about this because this, I don't want to bring more attention to it. Every offseason, it might not be J.R. Smith, but someone will say the exact same thing. Then we'll have the same reaction, and it'll be the same discussion. So I'm just like tired of that whole like process. Like what he said was dumb. That's all we even need to say. There's no need to talk about it more. But I will say that I do like J.R. Smith outside of that comment. You said you don't like him. I personally do. But, that comment in itself was just dumb.
I will give him props, though. I will give him props going back to school. And it sounds like he's a pretty good golfer. So, I mean, that is props on him. Like I'm not discrediting anything he's done. He was a good player. Like he would have been a fun player to have on any team, but some of his takes on basketball kind of blow me away. And it's no surprise it was on Gilbert Arenas' podcast, who he also has some pretty wild takes as well. So, but let's move on from that. We're done with it. I got it off my chest. Some good news today. I think it came out today. Shaden Sharp is back to shooting. He's not practicing yet, but he is shooting. So his tear in his shoulder is getting a little bit better each day. So that's exciting to see. Anything you want to add on that one?
Nope, it's just exciting to see, and shoulder probably affects shooting the most. So if he's shooting again, he's probably almost close to 100%. Probably just contact that he can't handle yet. When hopefully by training camp he should be 100%.
Yep. Which I think I'm kind of excited for training camp to see some of those videos of him with everybody and kind of practicing all together with everybody. So that's going to be exciting. I want to give a shout out to Keith from the Trailcasters. And actually, speaking of the Trailcasters, you were just on their episode, last week?
I feel like it was more than that.
Was it longer than a week ago?
I don't know. This week has gone by really slow for me. So,
if you guys haven't listened yet, check out the Trailcasters. Fawad was just on it. It was actually a very enjoyable episode. I enjoyed that one a lot. So, good episode, good talking, good people. But shout out to Keith from the Trailcasters. He gave us a couple questions to talk about on here. And he said this is something that came up on his podcast the other day. So are we locking in Simons as our number 2 player on offense? Or is he number 3 and Jeremy Grant's number 2? Is Nurkic somehow going to be number 2? What's your thoughts on the number 2 guy in our offense?
Yeah, that was a good question. I'm not too sure. I think that might be like a 2A, 2B type of thing where it might depend on the matchup or who's hot. I think it was Keith that said it might help to let Grant have a bigger offensive load because he's a forward rather than another guard with Ant, and I think that makes sense too. But I think it might just depend on the matchup most of the time, and Grant should hopefully be putting in a lot of effort on the defensive end, so that might it might, if it tires him out a little bit, it might give some more to Ant. But yeah, I think as long as they're both scoring well and efficiently, the threat of having the other one there is already such a big advantage to know that we have 3 guys like Dame and then 2 other guys who can reliably create their own shot.
Exactly.
After that, it doesn't really matter who ends up scoring more. It's just you need to have the threat of there being someone who can score with ease. And if we have that, I think we'll be set.
Now look, I swear to you, this was my opinion as well. I swear to you, I was going to say it's probably going to be a 2A, 2B kind of thing, where one night maybe the matchup is better for Grant, and then the next night it's Ant. And it's like, I swear, Fawad, me and you, sometimes we think exactly alike, and it's kind of crazy, but yeah. I don't want to just disagree to just have different takes. Truly, I really think it's a good... LaMarcus Aldridge was the last time we had a forward that was like our scoring option, So it's nice to have Lillard be, number 1, and then you have a forward that can be number 2. And like you just said, if he's putting too much effort, if he's having a more difficult defensive task that night, maybe Simons can spend more effort offensively and he could be the, the number 2 scoring option. It's something we haven't had in a while. 3 people that can be good scorers for us. I mean, we've had CJ and Dame, and it's pretty much like a sprinkle of Nurk every once in a while, and then maybe Gary for a little while. Gary Trent was there, and then maybe one game it was Simon. So it's like it's a good issue. Another good issue to have. 3 guys that can at any point be kind of an offensive force at some point. And look, people, if you're not a fan of Jeremy Grant, that's fine. He is a good offensive player. He's a very good defensive player. So he can most definitely be a 2A or a 2B. So I agree with you. 2A, 2B. If I had to put a number 2, I would probably say it's going to be Simons. Just the way our offense has been, but that could change. I mean, Chauncey could change it all, and it could be more spread out. But if I had to guess, it'd be Dame and Ant would be 1 and 2. but it could very well change.
Yeah, but I agree with that. But one more argument, I guess, in favor of Grant could be that Ant is a better catch and shoot player, catch and shooter. I don't know. So if Grant is the one attacking, it might open up the floor more to have Ant ready there to catch and shoot. Whereas if Simons is the one who's attacking, then it's not. Grant is a good shooter, but not as good as Ant, so it's not as
True.
big of a threat. But
Yeah.
it's just the more we mix it up, the better it'll be, in my opinion.
Yeah, and defenses can't really just focus on two players like they have been able to with Dame and CJ. So I've already said it once. I'm super excited for Simons or Dame or anyone to drive into the paint, pass it out to Grant in the corner, and where Grant does his little pump fake and then drives baseline and dunks it. I'm so excited to see that because I've seen it happen a million times with him, and I'm ready for it to be on our side this time, and I'm really excited for it. And I'm excited for defense, dude. I don't know about you. I know we talked about it in the summer league stuff. Seeing summer league defense, I'm so excited to watch us play defense. I think we will be a pretty good defensive team. Or at least we're going to be a better defensive team. I don't know if we're going to be a really good defensive team, but we definitely have players that can do it.
Hopefully, but I'm going to keep my expectations low just in case.
I was going to say, I think in the podcast
again.
you said you were a little iffy on it. Let me ask you one more question before we wrap up. Do you think Simons can take another step defensively? Do you think he has it in him to move up defensively?
I don't think it can happen this year because I think improving that drastically in one off season isn't really. I don't know. I don't want to say possible, but it's not common. I think maybe like 3, 4, or 5 years down the down the pipeline, I think he can become an average defender, but I don't think he'll ever be like like a Drew Holiday or anything like even like Alonzo Ball. He won't be like a positive perimeter defender, but I think it's definitely possible for him to develop into someone who can hold his own.
My thoughts on him
this year.
Yeah, my thoughts on him is he is young, yes. He's 4 years into this league though, and I think he's going on his 5th year this year, or is this his 4th year?
This is his 5th.
5th year, okay, that's what I thought. If he hasn't shown like some flashes of some kind of defensive ability, like where you can actually be like, okay, yeah, he could be a good defensive player, I don't think it's going to happen. But he does have age on his side, like we said, he's young. But in my opinion, I think he's always going to just kind of be right where he's at right now. He's very athletic. He can jump and he can try to make up ground and close out, but I just have a feeling he's going to just kind of be like a CJ McCollum defender. We're just always going to have not a very good defender at the 2 guard. And that's fine. You got to make it up with other players and team defense. And if Chauncey's system works out defensively, then you can help with that. So I do think there is a little room for improvement, and I think he can, but I don't think we're gonna ever be like. I don't think we'll ever say like, oh, he's an average defender. I think he'll always be a below average defender. I hope I'm wrong, and I would love for him to prove me wrong, but that's just how I feel.
I'm glad you brought up the experience thing because I think that is something that's very important, and people kind of forget that because he is super young, but I think the years of he's had 4 years, and I think that's more telling than his age. So that's definitely a good point.
And even though his first year he didn't play an awful lot, and his second year was kind of hit or miss, he's still practicing and developing every year, and putting in the work. So if by now we haven't seen flashes of it, I don't think it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good to wrap up today. Pretty short one, actually.
It was a very short one. It was only like 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah,
so,
it was shorter than
with that being said, I know we've talked about doing like a listener podcast and like, coming up with some special ideas. So if you are not in our Discord, please, please, please join our Discord because there's so much going on in Discord, so much talking. Between both, there's a Discord for the Trailcasters and we're in both of them and we're both talking. So if you are not in the Discord, there's going to be a link in our Twitter bio, and there's also a link on the episode description. You can click on that and it takes you straight to our Discord server. So get in there. We're gonna try to plan some things out here in the near future. But as of right now, it's it's the off season. It's the slow time. Football's about to start, so for all you football fans, let's get ready. But I think we're gonna wrap it up here tonight. It was a short one. I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And as always, Rip City, baby. Thanks to My Life Pursuing for the music used on the intros and the outros of this podcast. You can check them out on all major streaming platforms at My Life Pursuing.
I'm trying, Jennifer. I'm trying, Jennifer.